Does this area qualify for the Golden Passport?
I don't
Golden
think
Visa?
I
Right
don't
now
think
it-
that program is still running in the big cities. I think
No, only
they-
inland Portugal.
I think that more inland, like
Wow.
going to the interior of the country,
That's-
areas that are more deserted. And what the government is trying to do is to make, give new life to those areas.
Yeah, that's not an incentive though. Like in Sicily, they had abandoned small towns. They would give you the property for free, just to rehabilitate it.
Oh,
Not a visa though, but they're giving away property if you could restore it. So the incentive would be like to get that visa. It's a shame.
no, but the incentive, they still give that visa, but not in the big cities.
Yes, so you have
Because
to
these are
invest
becoming
outside.
overpopulated. So now you have to invest outside the big cities. Not too far away. We're a small country, so let's say that in places that they still have the Golden Visa program active, I would say that you would take about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to Lisbon. It's not that far away.
That's
Right.
pretty far. I mean, an hour and a half to 2 hour drive to get to say Lisbon to get.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah, that's pretty far. I mean, you're talking about it 100 kilometers an hour. That's 200 kilometers away. And then, like what kind of infrastructure do they have out there?
The
You know,
same
what kind
ones
of-
you see in the big cities, just not as big.
And what kind of people live out there too? I mean, obviously in the city you're going to have a more cosmopolitan, diversified crowd. A lot of people like to speak
Yeah, but
differently.
what the visa program created in the Lisbon area, not only in Lisbon itself, but in the area, was that the prices of housing went sky high. So now Portuguese people cannot find a house to rent or to buy under. So if people want to buy a house in Lisbon, not even talking about downtown, that's out of limits because we're talking about properties that can go to 4 or 5 million euros. There are apartments in the close to the hotel that you live that recently were sold by $1.5 million, and we cannot afford those prices. So that's what this Golden Visa program created was
That-
the lack
but that's
of
always the
housing
case
for the
in-
Portuguese.
That's always the case in big cities, though. Look at, let's say, Tokyo, Manhattan, the nice parts of Los Angeles. It's very expensive. The common person, San Francisco, Miami, they can't afford to buy there. I mean, without any kind of incentive program like you're describing.
Yeah, but in Portugal it became like that because of that incentive program.
But that
So
means
even
that people...
even
but-
in the outskirts where I live, there are houses of about 300 square feet with 2 bedrooms being rented for 1,200, 1,500 euros. That's ridiculously expensive. You have to see that the minimum wage in Portugal per month you receive 735 euros a month before taxes. After taxes, you get about 600. That's impossible for there. Even in Cascais, there's a farm, somebody that owns a big farm, and he's been lending land or renting land for people to live in tents. We're talking about people that used to live in normal houses in Cascais,
Mhm.
and their tenants, their landlords, increased the price of rents for double, and they cannot afford that.
Yeah, well, that happened even where we are in Florida, in our area of Florida.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be happening.
People are paying $3,000. I mean, houses now. You rent a house, it's $4,000 a month. It used to be maybe $1,200. Just as recently as 3 years ago.
Yeah, but we're talking about a completely different reality because the wages there are way too high than ours.
The wages haven't gone up that much to justify the
Ours didn't at all.
and it's
We
the
are
same thing.
paying
The
the
young
most
people can't.
expensive fuel in Europe. We have the highest VAT in Europe. We have the lowest minimum income in Europe, and prices and the inflation is going up, and nothing is being done to the salaries.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. It's the same situation in the United States by and large too. They don't have high salaries. The salaries have been stagnant. My point, though, is that if people were buying those properties to begin with, they wouldn't have needed to offer an incentive, right? They offered the incentive because people weren't going there, is my assumption, right? So by offering the incentive is what motivated people to start buying there, foreign investors, because the local population seems like they weren't investing there. Am I missing something, or because that's the only
Because
reason you would offer an incentive?
The banks are charging high interests.
Right, now they are.
There's no. In Portugal, it's not now. It's been like this for about at least close to 20 years. I'll give you an example. I live in a house. I pay 550 euros a month. It's got a pretty big backyard, small front yard, a garage for my motorcycles. My car sleeps in the street. I don't care about it, but the bikes is a different thing. Those are my babies. And next to my house, a house that looks exactly like mine, the same size, the same features. And my landlord recently did some renovation in the house, just painted some stuff because the tenants that used to live there, the lady died with a cancer, pancreatic cancer. It was devastating. In about 3 weeks, she died. The house was completely refurbished by that family that lived in the house, and he rented the house for $1,200 a month.
There's no question that there's been a lot of inflation almost globally, and maybe it's been worse in Europe. Now, we had very low interest rates up until about 2020. Now inflation's starting
We
to get
had
down.
low interest till about 1998. After that, they started going up like crazy.
Well, it's an ongoing problem because as long as you keep flooding the market with cheap labor, right, it's going to suppress the wages. As long as you outsource jobs to China and India, for instance,
You're just
what used to be
creating
historically
more difficulties for the locals.
What's that?
Doing that, outsourcing work for China, for India, where the labor is cheaper, it's just. I understand the business part of the thing, but for the people that live in the country, it's not becoming easier.
No, not at all. That's what I'm saying.
It's the opposite.
It's been a combination of factors going back now
Oh yeah.
30 years, especially since China entered the World Trade Organization. And it's not just China. I mean, you got Vietnam, Philippines, Mexico. Like in the United States, for instance, what they call the Rust Belt, where a lot of the car manufacturing was. They outsourced probably over the last 20, 30 years, maybe 20 million jobs or more, manufacturing jobs. I mean, those were decent paying jobs back in the day, and those people could afford to buy houses. Now they're gone. So, what's replaced it? Really nothing.
I've got some clients and friends in Detroit, and they told me that it was one of the cities that I would love to visit because of Motor City,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a car aficionado, especially American muscle. And they told me, well, you would not be very surprised with the Detroit that you find if you go now.
Yeah, it's not like it used to be, that's for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of it's abandoned. They literally just
That's what he told me.
They started raising the houses, meaning, just demolishing it and turning it back into farmland, if you could believe it. Some areas have old mansions that were just gutted and looted. Pretty sad. Well, that's the state of the world right now. Hopefully it'll change.